Oculus 2013 movie synopsis by Zillur Movies recapped. The film begins with two younger youngsters attempting to open the entrance door in the course of the evening. The youngsters are Kaylee, Annalise Basso, and her youthful brother Tim Russell, Garrett Ryan. The pair are clearly attempting to flee from the home. They hear footsteps and switch round to see somebody carrying a gun approaching. Kaylee steps between the menacing Determine and her brother, staring up defiantly on the gunman. The digicam rotates so we see a younger man holding the gun, wanting horrified. The gun fires and the younger man holding the gun wakes up from his nightmare. We quickly be taught that this younger man is a grown-up Tim, Brenton Thwaites. He's in a psychological hospital. He tells his physician that that is the primary time that he, and never his dad, was holding the gun in his dream. The physician says that that is Tim's last breakthrough. It signifies that he has lastly taken accountability for previous actions, and can suggest that he be launched. In the meantime, we see his now-grown sister Kaylee, Karen Gillan. She works for an public sale agency and is overseeing an public sale together with her fiancé and coworker, Michael Dumont, James Lafferty. They watch as an vintage mirror is auctioned off. The mirror, referred to as the Lasser glass, is in close to mint situation apart from a crack within the backside right-hand nook. The mirror is offered for tens of thousands of dollars. Tim tells his physician that Kaylee has discovered him in condo and helps him get a job. The physician says that it's good for he and Kaylee to reconnect, but in addition reminds Tim that Kaylee didn't obtain remedy after the incident, however was as a substitute dispatched into foster care. He says Tim should guard himself and ensure Kaylee does not undo his restoration. Tim walks out and Kaylee is ready for him, a smile on her face. She takes Tim out for lunch. They usually catch up. Instantly, Kaylee tells Tim she discovered it. They usually solely have just a few days to maintain their promise. Tim questions what promise she's speaking about. Kaylee replies, to kill it. In a flashback to 11 years in the past, the Russell household is transferring into a brand new home. Tim and Kaylee play fortunately with one another and their household canine. They're watched by their mom Marie, Katie Sackhoff, whereas their father Alan, Rory Cochran, begins establishing his new dwelling workplace and is on the cell phone together with his boss. Though Alan is a workaholic, he loves his children, calling them by affectionate nicknames. The movers carry the Lasser glass into the house and place it into Alan's workplace. Marie is stunned that Alan purchased this mirror, however does admire the mirror's magnificence. Again within the current, Kaylee drops Tim off at what appears to be a resort room, saying he may stick with them as a substitute. He insists on staying on the resort and Kaylee says he promised to not neglect what had occurred. Tim says he was solely 10 on the time. Kaylee says she is doing it the next evening and would love his assist. She then leaves. 11 years prior to now, we see Marie wanting in her new toilet mirror. She lifts up her nightgown to have a look at her C-section scar. She will get into mattress and complains to Alan that her scar appears worse. He asks to have a look at it and begins kissing her stomach, whereas asking, "What scar?" Marie is happy at her husband's flattery and the two make love of their new dwelling. We later see Alan downstairs getting a midnight snack. As he journeys again to the bedroom, he thinks he sees a ghoulish girl within the hallway. He activates the sunshine and walks into his workplace, the place all he sees is the mirror. Current. Kaylee sleeps in her mattress. She is woke up by a canine barking and goes into the corridor to seek out the mirror hanging in one of many rooms. She steps in and examines it, then turns and is attacked by her father, strangling her with a demonic grin. She begins screaming, then wakes up in mattress subsequent to Michael, who is reassuring her. He says she was having certainly one of her evening terrors. The subsequent morning, Kaylee is confronted by Michael at work. He notes that she submitted an order to have the Lasser glass repaired earlier than it's delivered to the profitable bidder. Michael says that when he final spoke to the pinnacle of the corporate, the boss had not wished to restore the mirror. Kaylee says the boss modified his thoughts. Michael additionally says that the IT division additionally discovered photos of corpses on her laptop. She asks him to have endurance together with her for a few days, after which all the things can be again to regular. He agrees to face by her. We see Kaylee stroll into the warehouse. The laser glass is roofed by a sheet. She offers the warehouse worker the restore order and tells him she's going to personally drive the mirror to the restore middle. The warehouse worker leaves to course of the shape and Kaylee takes off the sheet protecting the mirror. She sees her reflection and two coated objects behind her. She runs her hand over the crack, after which asks the mirror if it remembers her. She additionally notes that it's in all probability hungry. She appears up and now sees three objects coated in sheets behind her, and one of many objects strikes. She appears behind her and sees solely two figures. She turns again to the mirror and says she can be destroying it. Kaylee then sees all three figures behind her transfer. Kaylee turns round and now there are three objects behind her. She walks over and pulls the sheets off the primary two objects, revealing statues beneath. She begins to tug on the third sheet when the warehouse worker comes again in and distracts her. Kaylee appears again and as soon as once more sees solely two statues. They load the laser glass into her automobile, coat it as soon as once more, and Kaylee drives off. Tim calls up Kaylee and says he apologizes for the opposite day. He desires to see her and asks the place they'll meet. Kaylee says to satisfy them at their previous dwelling. We see Marie going to water her crops solely to seek out they're all lifeless. It then cuts to younger Kaylee working by means of the yard, taking part in laser tag together with her brother. She appears in her dad's workplace and thinks she sees a girl rubbing Alan's chest. She blinks and the lady disappears. Later at dinner they sit round speaking. Alan appears distant and is chewing his nails. Marie says that she at all times hated that behavior. Alan by accident chews his nail utterly off. He goes and places on a bandage. Kaylee asks him who the lady in his workplace was. He responds that there was no girl in his workplace. Current. Tim and Kaylee arrive on the home, Kaylee letting a small canine out of a carrying cage. She tells Tim to go searching. Kaylee tells him the home sat in the marketplace till she leased it when she turned 18. She asks him to assist her with one thing earlier than he goes. Tim helps her carry the mirror, nonetheless coated, inside their father's previous workplace. The place there are quite a few computer systems and cameras arranged, and a few sort of machine on the ceiling. Kaylee tells him it is a kill swap. She tells Tim he can go away if he'd like, however she must get began. He says he'll keep for some time. Kaylee activates one of many cameras and introduces herself and her brother earlier than detailing her quite a few precautions she has arranged. She explains the cameras and computer systems all have their very own energy supply, that there's an alarm to remind her to alter the tapes, one other alarm to remind them to eat and drink, and that there are thermometers in every room which is able to go off if there's an important change. She explains the purpose of the experiment. Is to show the mirror possesses a magical entity. She additionally receives a cell phone name from her fiancé and explains that she has requested he name her every hour. She has researched the historical past of the laser glass and begins telling it to the cameras. Each one that has owned the mirror ended up dying a grotesque dying, usually mutilating their very own our bodies or being pushed to insanity. Most of the victims had been discovered dehydrated or malnourished. With every sufferer, she holds up pictures of the victims, crime scenes and places, which had been the images beforehand printed off of her work laptop. One of many timers goes off. The two sit down and eat. Tim asks her who the tapes are meant for. She says everybody who ever accused Tim and her father of being murderers. Tim says their father was an assassin and a sick man. Kaylee slaps him and tells him to not communicate to their father that manner. She then resumes detailing the mirror's historical past for the digicam. We be taught that their father had tortured and killed their mom earlier than Tim shot their father in entrance of Kaylee. She says she intends to show that they had been all victims of the mirror and never liable for their actions. Tim asks why they do not simply destroy the mirror now. Kaylee tells him to take action if he can. We see a fast flashback of Kaylee and Tim swinging golf equipment at one thing. Tim takes a stool and walks over to the mirror to smash it. He then places the stool down and tries to persuade Kaylee that she is delusional and that is simply her attempting to deal with what occurred. Kaylee factors out that Tim has put the stool down and asks if he remembers placing it down. He does not reply. However, Kaylee says that the mirror has defenses in opposition to a direct human assault. She says in its recorded historical past just one particular person ever tried to assault the mirror. He tried to hit it with a fireplace poker, however stopped simply earlier than he struck it. After observing it for a while, the person left his dwelling and walked into site visitors the place he was killed. Tim says he didn't destroy the mirror as a result of Kaylee should break her personal delusions. Kaylee then demonstrates the kill swap rigged to the ceiling, which is an axe related to an egg timer. If the timer is not reset each half hour, the axe will swing down from the ceiling proper into the middle of the mirror. Previous. Alan varieties away at his laptop in his workplace. The bandage remains to be on his injured finger and is bothering him. He takes it off and begins typing once more, solely to see the bandage remains to be on his finger. He tries to take it off, however it's caught. He makes use of a staple remover to attempt to grip it, however finally ends up digging it into his personal finger, drawing blood. Alan realizes that the bandage had not been on his finger in spite of everything. He appears up and approaches the mirror. He then calls the kids into his workplace and accuses them of transferring his issues round, although the kids deny it. He tells them they don't seem to be allowed within the workplace. Current. Kaylee is telling Tim that the mirror feeds off of life drive, beginning with crops and animals. Thus, she has wholesome, stay crops and the canine in the home in order that the mirror can start feeding from them, whereas she data it. Tim says the crops of their home probably died as a result of poor water high quality, and notes the crops all through the home are all alive and nicely. Kaylee tells him to provide it time and locations the canine she introduced again within the cage, putting each within the entrance of the mirror and protecting it. The laser glass additionally interferes with electrical energy, which is why she has loads of spare gentle bulbs and battery-powered units. Its energy additionally causes excessive adjustments in temperature, thus the thermometers. It will definitely consumes its house owners, dehydrating and feeding off them, usually after driving them to insanity within the course of, thus the timers to remind them to eat and drink. She says that she has a pair different safeguards. First, Michael has agreed to name Kaylee each hour, although he's unaware of her plan, her perception that the mirror is evil, or why Kaylee desires him to name, and if she does not reply, to name the police. Previous. We see the Russells' household canine, Mason, laying on the bottom, wanting very unwell. It then cuts to Alan and Marie discussing the gun he has purchased for security. Marie may be very upset and he agrees to lock it up. As she leaves the room, she hears Alan name her a grotesque cow. When questioned, he says he didn't say something. Her already delicate psyche is wounded. Later, Marie is woken by the sound of their canine barking exterior Alan's closed workplace. She goes to let him in and he bites her and runs away. She pulls on the door once more and yells for Alan, who yells again that he's working. Marie hears him speaking to somebody and he or she makes an attempt to hear in when Alan all of a sudden opens the door. She asks who he's speaking to and he says he is not speaking to anybody. Marie, upset, says there's something incorrect with the canine and that Alan is misplaced in his personal world. They start arguing loudly. The subsequent day, Alan leaves to go golfing with a consumer and tells the kids to remain out of his workplace. Marie turns into aggravated with Mason, who's as soon as once more barking exterior Alan's workplace and lets him in, closing the door behind him. The canine begins to whimper, however Marie is unable to open the doorways. When Alan will get dwelling, Marie says she needed to lock the canine within the workplace, telling the youngsters he was grounded. Alan unlocks the door, however the canine has disappeared. Current. Tim tells Kaylee she is remembering the occasions incorrect and that Mason acquired sick and needed to be taken to the vet. Kaylee insists they sat exterior the door and that Tim has been brainwashed. Previous. Marie and Alan are combating once more, Alan telling Marie she is dropping her thoughts. They're loud sufficient to get up the youngsters. When tucking her in, Kaylee asks Marie in the event that they're combating due to the lady within the workplace. Current. Tim tells Kaylee their father was having an affair and her recollections concerning the mirror are fabricated. That it was a nasty marriage and that was it. Kaylee argues she went by means of all the things within the property and there was no proof of an affair. The two proceed arguing till Tim will get annoyed and lets the canine out of its cage and out of the home. He factors out that the crops are nonetheless alive and the one endangering the canine is Kaylee. He then begs Kaylee to depart the home with him, saying they'll go someplace and cope with all the things collectively. Kaylee agrees to disarm the entice and take the cameras down. However, simply as they're about to take action, Kaylee sees that the crops in the home are lifeless and the cameras have been turned away from the mirror. They replay the tape and see that in their argument they had been subconsciously transferring the video cameras. Kaylee additionally is aware of that the temperature has gone up over 5 levels, however the alarms haven't gone off. Tim goes to name his physician, however Kaylee stops him and says to make any calls exterior, because the mirror can mimic voices on the cell phone as long as they're inside its very. Tim runs exterior and makes an attempt to name his physician, getting an error message every time. He's all of a sudden distracted by Kaylee saying his title. It seems he by no means left the home, however had crouched within the hallway and spoke to no one. Previous. Younger Kaylee walks into the workplace to seek out her mom there with the vacuum, gently swaying in en trance of the mirror, however in any other case not transferring. Later, Marie, Tim, and Kaylee sit on the dinner desk without Alan. Marie is ingesting a complete bottle of wine herself and has made toast for dinner. She appears bodily unwell. Marie asks the youngsters to inform her extra in regards to the girl in Alan's workplace. Kaylee lies and says she did not see a girl in spite of everything. However, Tim says that he has now seen the lady. Tim says the lady was standing on the steps the earlier evening and it scared him. He says he thinks she lives within the workplace. Marie tells them to go upstairs and play. Marie enters the workplace and sits at Alan's desk. The place she sees a paper coated with scribbles and the title, Marisol. Devastated, she shoves the objects off of Alan's desk. Whereas cleansing the mess, she runs her fingers over a household portrait earlier than yelling and throwing a penholder on the mirror. It misses and hits the wall. The lights all of a sudden dim and Marie sees a smiling reflection of herself within the mirror. The reflection appears down and undoes the buttons on her gown, revealing her C-section scar has reopened. Marie screams and Tim and Kaylee run downstairs. Marie turns round and tries to strangle Tim. Kaylee pulls him free. They usually run away, Marie chasing them. They lock themselves of their bedroom whereas Marie slams on the door. Alan comes dwelling and runs upstairs. Marie grabs his head and he pulls her arms away. She begins slapping and combating him. He will get her in a chokehold till she appears to cross out. Kaylee sticks her head out and Alan tells her to return inside. Alan pulls his cell phone out and dials 911. We hear whispered voices from the mirror and Alan hangs up his cell phone. He pushes Marie off of him and drags her away. Kaylee opens the door once more and sees her father strolling down the corridor with chains in his hand. Current. Kaylee is reassuring Tim, who gave the impression to be having a flashback. They return to the room with the mirror, the place Kaylee is popping the cameras again on. On the computer systems, Tim sees Kaylee approaching the display screen. The lights dim and we see temporary flashbacks of him and Kaylee. Previous. Tim and Kaylee are of their father's workplace, the place he tells them their mom may be very sick and might want to relaxation for some time, however that they don't seem to be to trouble her. Kaylee asks what's incorrect together with her. However, Alan doesn't reply, as a substitute telling them they'll hand around in the workplace and play video games. Tim says he thought they weren't allowed in there. One of many lights goes out. Current. The alarm goes off for them to eat. Kaylee arms Tim an apple and asks him to assist her substitute the lights which have gone out. We see a quick flashback of Kaylee yelling at Tim, who appears to be in a trance, in addition to Alan going up the steps with a plate of meals. The sunshine Tim simply changed goes out. Kaylee replaces one other gentle, which instantly goes out. She replaces it once more and picks up the apple she had set down. When she takes a chunk out of it, she finds she has bitten into a lightweight bulb. She pulls the bloody piece of glass out of her mouth in horror. Tim then seems and he or she finds that it was in actual fact the apple she had bitten. She tells Tim they need to keep collectively. Previous. Tim watches cartoons when the TV all of a sudden turns to static. He and Kaylee hear pounding from upstairs and Tim says he is hungry. They give the impression of being within the fridge, but it surely has barely something in it. Kaylee storms into her dad's workplace and tells him that he must go grocery buying. She additionally tells him the TV is out and they should name a physician for his or her mom. Alan merely stares on the mirror, distracted, and says it is on his checklist. Kaylee turns into annoyed and leaves. The two go upstairs and Kaylee decides to inform their mom they're out of meals. She opens the door the place their mother is. It is filthy and there is damaged glass on the ground. When Kaylee approaches the glass, Marie all of a sudden lunges at her. She is chained to the wall by her neck and is lacking most of her enamel. Kaylee runs out of the room. Again within the workplace, Kaylee calls for they name a physician. Alan turns into offended and says Kaylee's drawback is that she doesn't hear. He says she and Tim are to not set foot exterior the home. Kaylee later calls a physician. When she will get off the cell phone, Tim asks what he mentioned. She mentioned he informed her to have their father name and had the identical voice because the final physician they referred to as. We reduce to Kaylee strolling up the garden and knocking on their entrance door with certainly one of their neighbors. Alan apologizes and tells their neighbor Kaylee is upset about Marie's sickness and is appearing out. We additionally see Alan has chewed his nails nearly utterly off. He appears up at Kaylee and goes into his workplace. Current. Kaylee leans in opposition to the mirror together with her eyes closed. She opens them to seek out the timer for the kill swap is about to go off and runs to reset it. She yells for Tim and one of many timers goes off. She throws it on the bottom. Tim is upstairs, taking a look at his youthful self, who appears up at him. The lights exit and older Tim disappears. Younger Tim walks down the corridor and yells for Kaylee. We see older Kaylee strolling downstairs with a lamp. The ability has gone out so she activates some emergency lamps all through the home, kicking and smashing a pot in anger as she does so. As she goes upstairs, younger Tim walks down the steps previous her. Whereas turning on one of many lights, she see damaged ceramic and chains. She tells herself it is not actual and leaves the room. Younger Tim opens the workplace door and asks his dad to repair the lights. He sees a grotesque girl hunched behind Alan, and he or she involves the door. Younger Tim screams and runs again upstairs, the place he locks himself in his room and hides within the nook. Older Tim is on the opposite aspect of the room watching. Kaylee is again downstairs, the place she sees damaged plates everywhere in the ground. She picks up a bit, pulls out her cell phone and makes use of the digicam to scan the ground. The shards don't present up on the digicam. She turns and sees her mom standing behind her. She screams and instinctively stabs her mom within the neck with the damaged plate. Her mom is proven to truly be her fiancé, who drops to the bottom, bleeding. Tim comes downstairs and Kaylee asks if he sees him, uncertain if he is actual or not. Tim crouches by him and Kaylee's cell phone rings. She solutions it and it is her fiancé on the opposite line. Kaylee says she could not have killed him as a result of the plate wasn't actual. Tim appears on the ground and sees the damaged pot. Kaylee makes use of the digicam on her cell phone to have a look at the physique and finds it exhibits up on digicam. She begins to sob. Tim takes Kaylee exterior and calls 911. Kaylee tries to run again in and Tim stops her, telling her they only have to attend for the kill swap to go off. Instantly all of the lights in the home come again on. They usually see themselves within the room with the mirror, standing in entrance of it. Tim says it is a trick to get them again inside, and Kaylee says it might be a trick to maintain them standing there. She tells Tim to name for assist once more. He calls 911 once more and will get the response that he'll must have his father name. Kaylee breaks the cell phone and asks Tim what they need to do. Previous. Alan is within the workplace, leaning on the mirror. He then sits at his desk, pulls out a gun and begins loading it. Tim, exterior watching, runs upstairs and tells Kaylee. Kaylee says the while must smash the mirror. Current. Tim and Kaylee enter the room with the mirror, seeing themselves nonetheless standing in entrance of it. There's now additionally the lady from earlier then, talking with their father's voice. Kaylee retains repeating that it isn't actual. She appears down and sees younger Tim holding her hand. He pulls away and runs. The lady smiles at Kaylee and he or she follows Tim. Previous. Kaylee and Tim run upstairs, locking themselves of their room. We then see their mom break a plate and start consuming one of many items. The door opens and Alan enters with the gun. Marie crawls in direction of him and tries to lunge at him. He places the gun underneath her chin and he or she freezes. He unlocks the chain round her neck and he or she slowly stands. Current. Tim and Kaylee are within the toilet, Kaylee on the ground. Kaylee asks if he is nonetheless there. Tim says he was by no means there, that he is upstairs. Kaylee asks how he may be positive. He tries to reassure her and opens the door, however their mom is standing on the opposite aspect. Previous. Kaylee and Tim maintain the door shut. Kaylee says they must get downstairs. Tim says she's not gone. Kaylee says they must open the door and run downstairs. She opens the door and the two run down the corridor. Marie lunges at them from down the corridor and Kaylee hits her with a golf membership. Tim runs downstairs solely to seek out Alan in entrance of the workplace, whereas Kaylee runs down the corridor into the room their mom had been in. She opens the window and jumps out, hurting her leg on the touchdown. She will get up and limps to the entrance yard, the place she sees two ghastly folks standing within the window, smiling. Current. Tim watches Alan stroll down the corridor, telling himself it isn't actual. Alan fires the gun. Previous. Kaylee goes again into the home. Current. Kaylee walks into the room with the mirror, the place she sees her fiancé's corpse standing in entrance of it with a smile. She walks down the corridor, calling for Tim. Previous. Kaylee walks down the corridor. Tim gestures to her, however she does not perceive. Instantly Marie lunges at her and knocks her to the bottom, the place she begins strangling her. After just a few moments, she loosens her grip, seeming to return to regular. She is then shot from behind by Alan. Kaylee grabs Tim and runs, whereas Alan, surrounded by the corpses of the previous victims of the mirror, kills her. Kaylee and Tim disguise behind a door, watching till their father is gone. They then run, grabbing golf equipment and head into the workplace, the place they start to strike the mirror, solely to seek out that they're solely hitting the wall. Alan enters the room, gun in hand, and factors it at Kaylee. Tim strikes his arm with the golf membership, knocking the gun down. Alan begins to strangle Kaylee, however lets go when Tim picks up the gun and yells at him. Alan turns round and kneels in entrance of Tim. He factors the gun at himself, wraps his finger across the set-off and nods. The gun goes off and Alan falls, lifeless. The corpses of the previous victims strategy them from behind, cornering them in opposition to the wall. They open their mouths and the sounds of the alarms are heard. Current. Tim is within the room with the mirror on the ground, protecting his ears to dam out the alarms. He yells for Kaylee. We reduce to younger Kaylee within the workplace. She sees her mom within the mirror. She walks in direction of her, her mom holding her arms out to hug her. They embrace. Tim walks to the kill swap and units it off, solely seeing afterwards that Kaylee was in entrance of it and has been killed by the kill swap. The mirror seems unhurt. Previous. Kaylee makes Tim promise they are going to destroy the mirror and make issues proper. Current. Tim is arrested. As he's driving away, he sees the corpses of his whole household within the window of the home. Suma. Rise, a girl tries to exonerate her brother, who was convicted of homicide, by proving that the crime was dedicated by a supernatural phenomenon. The 21-year-old Tim Alan Russell is discharged from a psychological establishment by his psychiatric doctor Sean Graham, utterly healed from a childhood trauma, the place his father purportedly tortured and killed his mom earlier than being killed himself by Tim. His sister Kaylee welcomes him within the parking space and brings him dwelling. Then she tells that they should destroy an historic mirror that she has discovered by means of working at an public sale home. She then steals the mirror and the reluctant Tim follows his sister and has fragmented recollections from their childhood, going again to when his father Alan buys a mirror for the house workplace of their new household dwelling. Kaylee and Tim see a girl with their father in his workplace and the behaviors of Alan and Marie change, ending in a household tragedy. Kaylee blames the mirror and now she desires to destroy it with Tim. Will they succeed? Two siblings haunted by a childhood tragedy be taught that the supply of their horror is a mysterious mirror with a darkish historical past. Tim, Brenton Thwaites, and Kaylee, Karen Gillan, had been merely youngsters when each of their dad and mom had been brutally butchered. Convicted of the killings and sentenced to protecting custody, Tim serves his time whereas Kaylee drifts right into a deep despair. Years later, a newly free Tim does his greatest to put the previous to relaxation. In the meantime, Kaylee is for certain that her brother was harmless all alongside, and that the vintage mirror their dad and mom used to personal holds the reply to her darkest questions. Upon finding the long-lost wanting glass, Kaylee's deepest fears are confirmed. A menacing drive inhabits that mirror, and it has plagued each proprietor who has come into possession of it. Now, as curious Kaylee reacquires the mirror, the nightmarish cycle of horror returns with a vengeance. Haunted by the violent deaths of their dad and mom 10 years earlier, grown-up siblings Kaylee and Tim at the moment are struggling to rebuild their relationship. Kaylee suspects that their vintage mirror is behind the tragedy, and comprises a malevolent, supernatural drive that infects the thoughts of anybody who gazes into it. Oculus is a 2013 American supernatural psychological horror movie co-written, edited, and directed by Mike Flanagan. It's based mostly on his quick movie Oculus, Chapter 3 The Man with the Plan, and stars Karen Gillan as a younger girl who's satisfied that an vintage mirror is liable for the dying and misfortune that her household suffered. The movie had its world premiere on September 5, 2013, on the 2013 Toronto Worldwide Movie Competition, TIFF, and acquired a large theatrical launch on April 11, 2014. It acquired usually optimistic critiques from critics, and was a field workplace success.